What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video. My name is Mo, and today we'll be going through the game preview, which is only a few days away. So we've got some really big topics to discuss. The video today will include the following topics, which is Lukaku, or shall we knee-jerk to Vardy? Is it time to, or is it too early, considering he's got Newcastle and Norwich in the next 2 game weeks? We've also got Chelsea versus Manchester City defenders / goalkeepers. Should we be targeting the premium keepers? What's the debate? Should we stick to our keepers such as Sanchez, Martinez, Pickford, who we've taken up from the start of the season? We're also looking at potentially taking out Antonio as his fixtures do get a bit more difficult. And we can potentially look at Kane, who started to score and looks a bit more lively in the Spurs lineup. We've also got best captaincy options. So is it worth sticking to Lukaku, who's going to be the popular option, or should we look elsewhere and try to be differential this game week? But we'll also look at Bruno and Mane. Should we stick to the tried and tested, the players who are still performing so far this season, or shall we still look to persist with Lukaku and Ronaldo, who've come in at big prices but quite haven't hit the ground running in terms of FPL and their points, considering the prices they come into your team? So we'll go through all those topics today. But what we'll do, if you haven't liked the video, give us a like, and if you haven't subscribed to FPL INKLING, please hit the subscribe button, and let's get to that 1k mark, which we're almost there in a couple of days' time. So let's look at my team and let's get stuck into the first topic. So the first topic we're going to be talking about today is Vardy versus Lukaku. So there's a lot of noise at the moment of, can we fit both in? Will that weaken the remainder of our squad? Should we wait and see how Lukaku performs in their next 3 games, considering they've got some really good fixtures lined up? Or should we just move away from Lukaku and move towards Jamie Vardy, who has been more consistent and has a bit more form behind him, considering he's played so well at the start of the season? So there's about 18.6% of managers that own Jamie Vardy. His price has gone up to 10.6 mil. I've personally brought him in this game week and I've moved away from Lukaku. Now, what's my rationale behind that? I will raise a few eyebrows. Yes, he's got some really good fixtures, but I'm looking at form as well. It's not all about fixtures, guys, because if that is the case, then we should always just kind of move our premiums around, and that can get a bit tricky because let's say these are the big guns. They are being, priced at such a high price. They should be able to perform in any fixture on their given day. So in the last, let's say, 5 game weeks, you can see Vardy has got 5 returns in terms of goals in the last 5 games. He didn't score against Man City, which is understandable. They're probably one of the best teams at the moment in the league, along with Chelsea and Liverpool. But he's got 5 goals and he's got 7 goals and an assist so far, and he's just looking in absolute great form. Now, another thing which kind of draws me towards Vardy is the first thing that he is on is penalties, and he's getting the minutes with him as well. So as you can see, barring 1 game week, which is against West Ham, he was substituted on the 80th minute. So Brendan Rodgers, despite having Iheanacho, who is playing more regular, he's a good asset as well, considering he's only 7 mil. So should we look at him rather than Vardy? But what brings Vardy's attention is he's pretty much nailed on penalties, and he really does get involved with the attacking play for Leicester. Now, what does his fixtures entail for us? We can have a look as well. So you can see he's got Brentford away, Arsenal at home, Leeds away, and then Chelsea. But then they got a really good run between game week 13 all the way up to, I'd say, game week 16, where they've got Watford, Southampton, Aston Villa, and Newcastle. Now, I am aware a lot of FPL managers are looking at Harry Kane or potentially Son at that point, but let's not forget this guy's in really good form, and I think he can definitely carry it on, and he will get chances in these games, which he has, which we can see from now to all the way to game week, I'd say 16. So the next 7 game weeks, it does look quite prosperous for Jamie Vardy. Now let's move over to Romelu Lukaku. Now, are we knee-jerking a bit too much? Am I looking a bit too much into this? Let's have a look. So in the last 4 game weeks, he has blanked. That includes a Chelsea game in the Champions League as well. So what does that include, really? He scored against Aston Villa, which we expected him to do. He came onto the scene against Arsenal, looked really lively, and including myself, a lot of FPL community thought Lukaku's just going to do this for the whole season. But we all knew that the difficult fixtures for Chelsea were at the start of the season, so we kind of expected him to have a kind of a lean patch as well. So you can see in the Liverpool game, they went down to 10 men, didn't get a return. You can see the Spurs game, they got 3 goals, but they were mostly through defenders such as Rudiger and Alonso. And then you've got Manchester City at home, which they lost. Didn't get any decent chances in that game. Against Southampton, hit the post, had a few good chances, but didn't really take them on that occasion. I think he should have got a few goals there when I had him in my squad, and I felt quite deflated after that game. And then you've got Brentford as well last week. I know it's a tough game away. He had one chance, he was offside, he scored. But again, if he's in full form, I'm sure he could have held his run and scored that goal whilst he was onside. However, he didn't really get any more clear-cut chances. We can look at his fixtures, I can show you. So let's go on to Lukaku himself. So this is according to the FPL fixture difficulty. So he's got all green. He's had Brentford, he's got Norwich, Newcastle and Burnley. So you can see that is his kind of run that he had between game week 8 and game week 11. So it's looking quite prosperous for him, but what I can generally say about Lukaku is his form is a concern. Now, that's not to say he can't go big against let's say Norwich this weekend, but what I'm thinking is generally you have to be a bit more sensible in the sense that, look, it might not be a wisest decision to take him out like I have. However, there are alternatives in players in terms of Vardy who are performing at a better ability and they come in slightly cheaper. So with those additional funds of, let's say, £1 million or 1.2 mil, if you got him in at 10.5, you could ideally use it elsewhere in your team. But for me, I have moved away from him. Now that can come back to bite me for sure. But in terms of someone like Lukaku, who's on 11.7 mil and is not on penalties, that does raise a bit of a concern for me now because I haven't seen that much from him in terms of what would suggest to me that Chelsea will be smashing teams 3, 4, 5 every week. And even if they were, will he be part of the majority of the goals? That's the question I have at the moment. So that's why I'm a bit sceptical and I've moved away from him. I may live to regret that decision, but for now, I'm pretty content and I've brought in Vardy. So this is what my team looks like for this game week, which is on this game week 9. So we've got Edison, Diaz and Cancelo from Manchester City. I've brought in Alexander-Arnold back into the squad. I just can't go forward with him not being in my squad. So I've got a solid back four with Livramento on the bench if needed be to come on. And if there are any further international games which are coming soon and Edison can't play, I've got Foster on the bench to come on to cover a spot like he did in the previous game week for me. So that's the kind of structure I'm looking at the moment in terms of my squad. So I have gone a bit different. So I have raised a few eyebrows going for Vardy. It's more of a long-term plan. I hope it does pay off for me. I may live to regret it. But in the situation I'm in at the moment, I generally believe that in the long term, this decision will serve me well. Now let's move on to the second topic, which is Chelsea versus Manchester City defence. So we'll move from the goalkeepers first. So Edison or Mendy. Mendy had an absolute phenomenal game against Brentford. No goal was going to be scored past him during that game. That scissors kick, a bicycle kick, whichever was at the last kick of the game, I think. That save was phenomenal. And he kept Chelsea in that game. Those were crucial 3 points. Now, I know people have gone for Alonso like I did, and they want to take him out. Azpilicueta is an option. Rudiger, we're not too sure about his injury return at the moment. So maybe going Azpilicueta and Mendy might be a good shout. Or if you want to go Reece James, who's got a bit of minutes against Brentford on the pitch, might be a good shout as well to bring him in around 5.5. 5.6 mil into your squad. But I've gone Edison because I feel that Man City in the long term, if we have a look at their fixtures, I think all the way to game week 20, which I'll show you, towards all the way to Brentford, they only have Manchester United at Old Trafford and West Ham at home against, at Etihad. I don't know why that's rated as a 4 game for them. It should be, for me, a 3 max. But I generally do believe there are games that they can generally get a lot of clean sheets. So that's my opinion, and that's why I've gone for Edison in my goal. And I've gone for Diaz and Cancelo. Yes, Diaz was benched this game week, but I think it was more of like a workload management. He's played international football for Portugal, and he's played pretty much every minute. He was back in the Champions League game, played really well. They did concede a goal, but I think, as a captain, he will be back and playing against Brighton. You can also look at Cancelo, who I've got in my squad. Kyle Walker was rotated, but he should be back again for the weekend fixture. You've also got Laporte at 5.5, who's getting regular game time. So he might be a bit of a cheaper option to bring into your squad. And you could have in your team for clean sheet. points as well. Laporte is quite threatening from set pieces such as corners and free kicks, so you always have the chance that he could get some really useful goals for you. So I've kind of moved away from the Chelsea template and gone for City long term, and I hope that serves me well in terms of the decision I have made. Now let's move on to the strikers. So we move away from the defenders, we'll look at strikers. Now, Antonio is a really big talking point at the moment. He's still, at the present of recording, or the time of recording this video, he's owned by 45.6% of managers. So that's still quite a high ownership for Antonio, considering what an amazing start he had to the season, and he was player of the month in August before being sent off against Southampton, which is quite I'd say it was a bit of a catch-22 because a lot of managers were bringing him in at that point. Some even triple captained him, which I was informed of, but he hasn't scored in the last 2 game weeks. Scored against Leeds. I think I'm going to be persisting with him for this period itself, but he does have some really difficult fixtures towards the game week 17, where you can see Arsenal away. But then if you look at, Tottenham, Aston Villa, Liverpool, they have conceded goals, and he's not on penalties, but he's probably the main source of goals for West Ham. You've got Gerard Bowen, Souček, who are playing well in their own rights, but Antonio in your squad makes it a bit more of a stronger lineup for you going into, if you're playing a formation of 3-4-3 or 4-3-3, it does add a balance to your squad. But then again, there are difficult fixtures. Doesn't mean he can't score, but if you look from game week 18, it's a ridiculous run they have all the way to game week 22. Norwich, Southampton, Watford, Crystal Palace, Leeds. So fingers crossed he should be able to come off with it. If he does score points and you own him, it will help your rank massively. But if you don't own him at the moment and he does have a big game week, let's say against Tottenham or Aston Villa, it may dampen your ranking overall. So I'm going to stick with it at the moment, but there are alternative options such as Callum Wilson coming back, who's on penalties as well. For Newcastle, you've got Jimenez, who's in a bit of form as well, was rested for the last game week, I think, due to workload management, but he should be back in the Wolves lineup, ready to get back to his goal scoring and assisting form with Hwang. So there are alternative options. Antonio as well, some managers are looking at, considering how well he's done in the last couple of game weeks. Now, there's a lot of talk around Harry Kane. So Harry Kane is owned by 5.2% of managers at the moment. Now, he hasn't been in the best of forms. He started at 12.5 mil, has gone to 12.1 mil, and he got a goal in the last, and an assist against Newcastle as well. So he looked really good. First double-digit game score this year so far. So what can we expect from Tottenham? I think he can really kick on, but the fixtures all the way to game week 12 I think will kind of put managers off bringing him in straight away, because you've got Lukaku, who's got good fixtures, and you've got Vardy, who's in really good form. But from game week 12, Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich, Brighton, that's some really good fixtures for him to really take advantage of. If he is hitting some form now, I think that's where a lot of FPL managers may be drawn towards. But some might go early and try to take advantage of a good form. Harry Kane, because I think he will end up with about 20-25 goals this season, despite starting so slowly. But that's a decision that managers can make. But for me at the moment, I may consider bringing him in around game week 12 to really take advantage of those couple of game weeks that he does have, to bring in some really big point hauls. Now, another debate this week is the captaincy. So Lukaku owners are obviously going to be tempted to captain him. Now, other options, you've got Vardy against Brentford. You've got Wilson against Crystal Palace, who has done well this season but do concede goals. But I'm looking at Mo Salah personally myself. Now, they've got Manchester United at Old Trafford. It's not the easiest game in the world, but Manchester United haven't been the best at home either. So for me, it's a bit of a decision. I'm choosing a player on form and a team and a defence who've been absolutely, I'd say fragile over the last, 18 months at Old Trafford. So you can see from Mo Salah, he's had an amazing Champions League game as well, absolutely played well in midweek. And in the last 7 game weeks, he has scored week in, week out. 12 returns, 83 points at the moment. He's the best player in the world for me. 12.8 mil in price, and almost 65% of managers own him. But the question is, how many of those 65% managers will captain him? That will be interesting. If there is a low captaincy option for Salah this game week, and I captain him and he comes back with a good point haul, and Lukaku blanks, it will help me massively. But it can go vice versa, where he can blank in terms of Salah. He could have a blank in terms of not getting any points, and Lukaku could, get a few goals and get a double-digit game week return, that will actually dampen me negatively and could actually get me another red arrow for this game week. But I'm going Salah for now. I'm pretty confident. I'm a United fan, but I'm going to be honest. He's the best player in the world, and he's torn up a defence like Man City, who for me are one of the most solidest defences, not just in the Premier League, but in the world. What is he going to be doing to a team without Varane, Lindelof and Maguire, who had a really bad game against Leicester? I'm literally expecting the worst this game week. So that's why I'm going for Salah. There may be alternative options. We can look at the fixtures for this game week. So if you can see from here, who else could we consider? I think if we look from a general perspective, there's not really much other players that stand out. Maybe Vardy, someone from Manchester City. So if you've got someone like a Kevin De Bruyne, you may go for him against Brighton, who they have on the Saturday fixture in that regard. So for me at the moment, I think Mo Salah looks nailed on for my captaincy for this game week. So it's entirely your choice how you want to play it. Lukaku again. It is a risk, but the fixture against Norwich, they'd got a clean sheet last week. Can they, build upon that? Can they get another one? It will be a tough game for Norwich to manage, the skills and levels of Chelsea. But Lukaku hasn't scored in a couple of game weeks, so he may be due a big haul. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes for this game week. Now let's move towards the final topic, which is kind of like Mane and Bruno versus Ronaldo and Lukaku. So Mane and Bruno have been bringing in the points over the last couple of game weeks. Now I know both of them, were overlooked because of the Ronaldo and Lukaku signings, and people thought, we need to really get them in early and take advantage of, their skills and ability to get big points. But Mane and Bruno, have gone about their works quite smartly. I know Bruno missed a penalty at Old Trafford against Aston Villa. However, I think he still is on penalty. So is he a bad shout at 11.9 mil? I don't think he is. You've also got Mane as well, who, along with Salah in the scintillating form he is getting into some really good positions, and he's looking like that old Mane that we saw a couple of seasons ago. So should we look towards them? Should we look towards Kevin De Bruyne, who, in terms of Manchester City, their fixtures do look good over the next couple of game weeks. So should we look towards him? He isn't on penalties, but it could be a good chance that, in games like, Brighton, Crystal Palace, even Manchester United at Old Trafford, and they got Everton, and then look at the game week 15 to 18 run. Kevin De Bruyne might be a good shout for you as well. So I think that's a question that most managers should be thinking about. I'm very tempted to go either Mane or Bruno, but I've kind of stayed away from it at the moment. I've gone for Wilfried Zaha, who is flagged at the moment, but from Vieira, after the game against Arsenal, he did say, it was just an illness. He looks better. He'll be training on Wednesday, and he should be fit for the weekend against Newcastle. So this is, good news for me, because I'm looking at Zaha at the moment. I think he does have some really good fixtures coming up, and he's kind of like the main source of goals or attacks for Crystal Palace as well. So that's why I'm looking at this at the moment. So this is my team for game week 9. Let me know what your thoughts are. Have I discussed the topic you're looking into, and there are some things that you're still uncertain of? Is there a topic I haven't discussed? If you need any help, give me a shout. Drop me some comments on this video. Contact me on my social media, which is Instagram, Twitter, and I'll be there to help you guys out. Best of luck for game week 9. I hope it goes well for you guys. I will be doing a live deadline stream on Friday evening, so please tune in for that as well. I think it's going to be a really good game week, and we should expect some really big scores considering the fixtures we do have for this weekend. If you guys haven't joined the FPL INKLING League, type the code in below this camera screen and join the FPL INKLING League itself and join the family. If you haven't liked this video, give us a like if you liked it, and if you haven't subscribed to FPL INKLING, this is a great opportunity to hit that subscribe button, help the channel grow, and let us hit that 1k subscribers mark, which we are going towards on a very quick speed. I want you guys to take care, stay tuned for more content, and until then I want you guys to take care.